I was gonna say, I hadn't heard from Scott.
He beat you to the meeting.
And you're muted, bud. I can't hear you.
Oh, that's not him, that's me.
Oh, it's not you, it's us. Sorry. Anything you wanna say now, or?
Can't hear him either.
No, I'm all done now.
There we go.
Oh, good. This is a audio check.
I'll leave my laptop.
Thanks, God. Yeah, we gotta do that. Oh. Okay. Dick, you gonna join us?
I'll be heard if I need to, and,
Yeah, but I think you're gonna be voting tonight.
okay, I'll even vote, but I'd rather not get too close to any of you.
I understand why. All right.
I can
You know, it's
appreciate that.
mutual.
But I put my amplifiers in so I can hear you.
Oh, wonderful.
All right, we'll make it, well, we're not gonna make it short tonight, I guess.
No,
We have all kinds of discussions,
no.
all kinds of exciting things.
Now, Dave, are you an anti-masker?
I've been vaccinated and I don't think I need to wear a mask. So,
I've been vaccinated 3 times and I have to wear a
I've had my
mask.
booster and
I've had mine
I
this
still
year
don't
and I'm
trust
still wearing a
any of you.
mask. Yeah.
Yep,
Hello?
Well, my vaccination doesn't have.
Hello,
that
hello.
yet. We did, we had
And
one
this
during,
one.
Good, thanks. Who we have joining us?
it's a little higher concentration than the other one. So there's some debate. My,
Somebody
Somebody
that-
needed it or not.
yeah, my infectious diseases from.
You want to check in?
There's a debate about whether it's needed or not.
so Chris, we've got you on board here. Edmund, who's on the telephone number 34365?
John Allen.
Okay, John, thanks.
Ah, maybe you are.
And then we have everybody else.
I don't know, we'll have to figure it out. We'll toss coin between you and Jim.
it's all right.
I don't know if you guys want to take it outside. But
Arm wrestle?
oh,
Paper,
man.
scissors and stone.
Okay.
Everybody who needs one have an agenda and minutes and all that good stuff?
Unfortunately, we didn't email remote people. Scott and John probably don't have those because I didn't email them because they're here, so.
Okay,
I have an agenda.
Okay.
all right.
I mean, I send your agenda out, so I do send the agenda, I don't send the minutes out.
I should hope so.
Yeah, you do have the agenda.
Yeah, we just have the minutes out after the last meeting.
Yes,
Yeah,
whatever.
so we have it.
All right,
Okay.
let's get this thing started.
First thing on the agenda is
Who's here?
determine voting members.
All right, regular members, John Allen, is that you on the phone there? And-
Yes, it is.
Okay, good, and I can see Scott Badger, yes, okay. Unmasked. You know you need to wear a mask to this damn thing, oh, sorry.
Mercy mask.
You're far enough away, it's okay. All right. Yeah.
I actually had a student ask me whether they needed to wear a mask when we were doing Zoom.
Well, I know, sorry, okay.
And I said,
So,
unless we know something about.
Chris
infectious
McNair
disease,
is not gonna be here this evening, and he said he's not okay to be on, even on the Zoom, so, I need to have one alternate be a voting member this evening. Which of you feels excited about doing this evening? Jim, you're sitting at the table, I'm gonna give you the chance.
Okay,
How's
I'll
that?
take it.
Dick, that doesn't mean you get to sit down and be quiet. Alrighty.
Next is approve the minutes.
Approve these old minutes.
I move we approve the minutes of the September 9th meeting as submitted.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? No opposition, the motion carried. All right, that was quick. All right, we've got a public comment on any matter not before the planning board this evening. All right, that was quick. We ran through a quick 5 minutes.
We're just back on time.
Alrighty. This evening, we, in addition to our regular meeting, we have a public hearing. And so here we have attending.
Kevin Hilton from HEB Engineers.
Okay, welcome. And you heard us talking about who our planning board members are earlier, and you won't have to do that a second time. If you need any introductions, please let us know. And we'll have the same voting member as the regular meeting which we had before. It says to, I'm going to explain procedures. Basically, the board will recognize anyone who wishes to speak, and we'll go from there. So we have on this evening a lot line adjustment. Would you like to present, please?
Sounds good. And I just want to make it clear, this is a minor subdivision application,
Yes,
not a lot line
I-
adjustment. Just not to confuse anybody.
That's what I thought. I'm looking at the agenda and I'm going, oops. Okay.
And I do have a slightly revised copy of the
Oh.
plan. I realized that I had not put on a protected well radius, so
Oh.
I revised that and adjusted the lot sizing calculations. So nothing has changed with the lots themselves, but that's the one minor thing. Where would you like me to sit, stand? Anywhere here?
Yeah.
All right. So a little bit of background. I'm working for Matt and Leah Falconeri. They own other property in Jackson. They are looking at building a new second home in town. They've spent many years here. They purchased this lot recently. It's currently 7.32 acres, and they'd like to subdivide it into 2 lots. One smaller lot further down the hill, closer to 16V. It is 3.03 acres, and another lot that fronts up on Maple Bush Road that is 4.29 acres. We had wetlands delineated by a certified wetland scientist. Have topography from New Hampshire granite LiDAR done by DOT. 2-foot contours. We had test pits done on each one. Seasonal high water on both of them is about 24 inches and 27 inches, so a little bit of a high water table, but it does meet the requirements for designing a septic system. We have submitted to New Hampshire DES for state subdivision approval. That is still pending. But that's basically the gist of it.
There's nothing built on this lot already.
Not currently. There used to be a house on the lower portion that was taken down by the previous owner, so there's an existing driveway that goes in there. There's kind of a somewhat slab that's left over, but not much of a great foundation. And there would probably be a new house put roughly in that location pending septic design.
And that location is this larger
Yes,
area?
yeah,
And the
exactly.
driveway?
Yep.
Now, who owns this little piece that's between this lot and the Highlands Road?
Town of Jackson, actually, there's two separate lots there, surprisingly. They're remnants of a 1960s subdivision that was done prior to any type of subdivision approval, so that's how they were lots of record. They were actually deeded to the town in 1990. The Falconeries are actually interested in purchasing those from the town. They had approached the selectmen last year, didn't quite meet the warrant article timeline, so they're hoping this year to try to get that on the warrant and try to purchase those from the town to add on to this upper lot here.
Okay, that would make sense.
Yes, for everybody involved.
Yeah.
Let's see.
So, Bush Road. So just for my clarity, the frontage would then be on Maple Bush Road?
Correct, yes, yep.
Has this property ever been dealt with in the past? Was it merged in the past?
I don't believe so. I believe this is a pretty old piece that was originally subdivided out from what is now Jackson Highlands. Before that was all subdivided, it was one bigger farm, and this piece was subdivided out, I believe, in the 1950s. So this current 7-acre configuration has been that way since the 50s.
Well, I remember the discussion of the two little parcels that Jackson owns last winter, or when's March? It must have been last winter. That the selectmen were not given the ability to sell something like that. And hopefully, as you said,
Yep.
it'll be on the warrant for this coming year.
Correct. Yep.
But that doesn't swing the deal for these folks?
No,
They're
they,
happy with-
right, yeah, they would still like to subdivide it as it is, and then it's just gonna make it better if they can acquire those two pieces.
Well, it makes sense to acquire them.
Yep.
I don't know what the town would do with them.
Right.
Now, the question I have is your existing drilled well, the radius extends over the new subdivision line?
Yeah. We can include a deeded easement in there that says that that's restricted, plus the protected well radius is within a wetland area anyways, so we wouldn't be able to build a septic system. NHDES typically allows that as long as it's in a non-productive area for that to overlap.
Yeah, I think our regs suggest that it needs to be documented.
Okay. Yeah, we can add a note to the plan that states that. Yep, that's fine.
Yeah, I think we have language for that in the subdivision regs.
Okay. Yep.
Other questions? You want to go through the checklist?
There's no blank checklist, they filled it out.
Yeah,
So
that's
that's
good.
okay?
Yeah, that's the good thing.
Okay.
I thought we had included a blank one also, because I think I've had run into this before, but there isn't one, I
This is
apologize.
on the checklist, there's two places to check. One is the town, one is the applicant. Two sides.
They filled it out. So if you think that's okay, that's fine. That's all I'm gonna say.
We'll go through it, yeah. And as long as it agrees, and if it doesn't,
Okay. The application was signed by the owners. The voter list was provided. All the fees were paid, and all the applications identified on the minor subdivision or major subdivision. You provided a new set of 5 copies. We'll
Yes.
disregard those
Yeah.
other 5 copies. We'll have to make a modification so you'll submit another 5 copies.
Yes, yeah, yeah, and once there's New Hampshire DES approval, we'll make sure we get the approval number for that on there before the final copies in the Mylar.
Okay. Does the proposed lot front a town class 5 or better street or road?
Mhm.
Okay, now on these. Title block showing name of proposed subdivision or identifying title, town, and plan date.
Yes.
Okay. Name and address of applicant and owners, if other than applicant of the property to be subdivided. Tax map, lot number of the lot to be subdivided. E911 address for proposed lots, if available. Is that even,
We have the existing one in the title block, but we don't have a proposed one yet because there's no structure there.
Do you want the address of the,
Yes, it's in the title block in the upper left-hand corner, right next to where it says minor subdivision plan.
upper middle left? Oh, I see, yes.
Yeah.
Got it. Mhm, yeah.
Okay.
Yep,
Name of zoning districts where a lot to be subdivided is located.
yep.
Minimum zoning frontage requirement.
And it
Plot.
looks, both of them meet it.
Plot scale of 1 inch equals 100 feet or better.
That looks good.
Actually, it's,
looks that way, and that's,
okay.
Yeah, 1 inch equals 50 feet.
Yes, 50, yeah.
Okay. North arrow on there.
Yeah, nice one.
Okay, location map clearly shows.
Oh, next one, yeah.
Location map clearly showing center site location and adjacent named roads. Name, license number, address, seal, and signature of surveyor. Surveyor certificate statement, I have certified that.
Mhm.
Name and address and seal of engineer, all engineering, on all engineering sheets. It says not applicable in this. Okay. Boundary survey including bearing and distance for all lot lines, both current and proposed, show entirety parcels being subdivided with lots numbered according to Jackson's system.
that's a good question.
That's another discussion for later.
My previous experience is if we add a new lot, that becomes an A on the existing lot number. So previously it was V7/55, and our new lot is going to be V7/55A.
Existing and proposed topographical contours at 5-foot intervals or better.
Yep, they're 2 foot.
All zoning ordinance setback lines, i.e. building setback in year-round streams.
And then,
Having neither.
Soil map indicating soil types and soil boundaries with poor and very poorly draining hydric soils.
Yeah. The soils that are marked here seem to be just the poorly drained ones.
Yes, I believe I have a note, let's see. I didn't actually include a note, but in the lot sizing calculations tables, the whole lot is Marlowe soils, Carroll County soil survey.
Okay.
And then the poorly drained and very poorly drained have been identified by the wetland scientist.
You okay? Is that okay? Okay. Square feet and acreage of lot to be subdivided in each proposed lot. Soils/minimum lot size chart demonstrating that each proposed lot meeting zoning minimum lot size requirements based on section 6 of the zoning requirements.
Yep.
Butters names, tax map, and lot numbers matching separate butters list.
Has that been checked by somebody?
Yep. Floodplain land, if applicable, clearly demarked, include base flood elevation data, floodway, flood hazard area, floodplain boundary, and the boundary of the river conservation district.
I don't think that applies up here. A little more than 100 year flood.
Okay. Existing buildings and other human-made objects remaining.
And shed.
Certainly just the shed, right? No, nothing, yeah, just the shed. All existing or proposed easements, right-of-way, buildings, other essential site features such as rock ledges, stone walls, and tree lines are applicable. Surface waters clearly identified and delineated.
There are no real surface waters on this property.
This one also says this doesn't apply open space to be preserved. Doesn't apply to this one,
No.
correct? Deed restrictions, if any, or all right-of-way easements and utility easements, or statement indicating no knowledge of deed restrictions or easements existing. Is that what's going to be changed with that septic line?
Yeah, I can add with that note, there are no deed restrictions on the property, but I can make a note that there aren't any.
Indication of existing dry hydrant and or fire pond within 200 feet, but that's not applicable. If a private road will be located within any of the subdivided parcels, a deed to each such lot, parcel, or tract shall contain the same restrictions set forth in section 9.023, which shall run with the land. A copy of such deed containing restrictions shall be submitted to the board with submission of the final plat. In addition, a statement of responsibility for the maintenance and repair of the private road shall be delivered to the board with submission to the final plat, along with information pertaining to compliance to the town. There's no such private road, correct?
Correct, yep.
Subdivision regulations compliance statement.
Yep.
All utility systems installation shall be shown on the final plot and installed as required. Wow. It's 30 days. Where 3 or more dwellings units are planned, this is not applicable. Location and profiles for elevations of existing and proposed water supplies, wells within 200 feet of the lot to be subdivided, show protective radii with these water wells.
And that goes to our, what's the arrangement on the well that's here on the property, the Grout property? You have that listed where it does go over the line there?
The one that we show is basically in the middle of the plan there.
Yeah.
That's a pre-existing well that's been there for who knows how many years, so we show the restriction on it, and we did include it in the lot sizing calculations that impacts the calculations, but I don't believe there's an existing deeded well release or anything like that. That lot is also pretty old. I think that's probably from the 40s or the 50s.
Is there a building or property on that lot?
I believe there is, yeah, it's just kind of just off of our survey.
Okay.
It looks like the well is in, you have an area marked off here with it. What does that indicate?
That's a separate property.
It's
That-
not wrong.
It's not actually Groff, it's a separate property and it's not in a butter, so I didn't include the names. I didn't want there to be any confusion that they needed to be notified or anything. It's actually, this here is the property line for Bender. There's like a moving along there, a strip in there, so that actually separates that.
And then this is the third person.
Correct,
Rob
yes,
Bender and
yes.
somebody else.
Yeah, exactly. Some interesting lot lines in the neighborhood there.
Mhm.
Locations of culverts, drains, proposed connections to alternative means of providing water supply and disposal of sewage and surface drainage.
We located all the existing culverts, both coming into the property off of Maple Bush and up and down Jackson Highlands. We're not proposing any different drainage as it's a minor subdivision.
Location of all test pits delineated within 4,000 square feet of area.
Just two, right?
Engineering sheet shows drainage system and erosion sediment control, not applicable, according to this.
Right.
Engineering sheet showing location and details of all proposed streets and driveways. It says it's not applicable on this one. Statement of responsibility and liability for private streets and roads. It's not applicable, there's none. Non-plot data to be submitted, copy of New Hampshire Environmental Service certificate. You said that's pending.
Pending, correct, yep.
The rest of these says they're not applicable, but environmental construction approval, state wetlands board certification and approval, copy of state highway access permit, performance guarantees, open space dedication documents, condominium and homeowner association documents, electrical lines and utilities, 30-foot access easements for subdivisions, and engineering calculations for stormwater drainage. All of those, they say, is not applicable to this.
Now, as far as wetlands, what would require you to have a wetlands permit if you were?
If we were filling any wetlands to either put in a driveway, basically it would be for a driveway. The lower lot has that existing driveway, which won't require any changes. And the upper lot, we're proposing coming off of Maple Bush Road there, and we're trying to stay as far away from the wetland as possible. So we've shown a small driveway apron there, but that will not require a wetland
No, I see.
filling or permit.
Way down the edge.
Yep.
But if you happen to, if they can get the town of Jackson piece added on, then they could have a driveway anywhere along Jackson Highlands.
And that's their hope. Ultimately, they'd ultimately like to come off of that and leave more of a buffer along Maple Bush Road there.
Mhm.
But we're showing it this way for now because that's what there actually is for access.
Okay. Do they plan to build something on one of these lots?
Their plan is, to build on the upper lot, the V7-55, to build something there first. And then I don't believe they have plans on the lower lot yet, but they're just gonna kind of hang on to that for now.
Oh, that's it? That's the checklist?
Good.
So do we accept the application?
Okay,
You making a motion?
need a motion to accept.
I'll make it.
I move to accept.
A motion to accept, a second.
My second.
We have a motion to accept and a second. All in favor of accepting the application?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
And no opposition. All right, so now we have to also vote to approve.
Make a motion to approve?
Yeah,
Or
I would like, if we can, have the motion to approve is contingent on completion of the outstanding requirements.
Yeah, that's fine. Yep.
That will not prevent us from voting this evening and putting you into the plus category on that.
That would be
But we'd like the final plat to
Yep.
reflect the corrections
Yep.
that we identified this evening. If we can get that, and you also don't want to file this until you get the DS.
correct. Yeah, yeah. We'll get the
Anyways.
DES approval, and then I'll add these notes, and then I'll provide final plans.
Okay.
Yep.
And we will sign, and then we'll sign off on it,
Great.
on the Mylar then. Okay, so again, I need a motion to approve with the requirements that we've identified.
So moved.
I have a motion to approve and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
All right. Well, thank you for your time.
Thank
Appreciate it.
you. Appreciate your presentation, good work.
Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you.
There being no other business before our public hearing, I hereby declare the public hearing adjourned, and we'll continue on with our regular meeting.
The next one is the lot number system. You wanted to discuss?
Okay, we received an email from, I've got anything here, but saying that they would like us to look at our lot number system and what was the issue? That we couldn't have numbers, numbers and letters were not good?
You're right, because actually it came up, I think, a couple months ago where we had a 40, we had a number 37 and a 38 and a 40 in between, and they're not in order. And what they proposed, kind of like what he did on this one where he made it 55 and 55A, is the way that email sent it is like he wanted us to go through the entire system to renumber.
Which we're not likely to do, however, prospectively, perhaps we can do a lot better job of making sure that we follow.
Who was the email from?
It was one of the Julies
It was from the assessor,
from the town
the
assessor,
town assessor.
recommending that we might want to consider.
Maybe way down the lines.
Well, yeah, yeah,
It depends on where you start as to the lot, and lots get subdivided, and then others subdivided, then they get lot line adjustments, and so on and so forth. So where do you start? I mean, here it's fine, it was 55, and we cut it in half, and it's 55 and 55A. And I think there are some lots that we have gone by that system. And I remember a while ago, and I don't know how long ago it was, but we did have a discussion about lot line
we did.
numbers as to how we should do it, and I don't remember.
And I've forgotten what we decided.
We decided to kick it down the road.
Well, we decided we do one thing versus another, and I don't recall.
Was it letters rather than the numbers, 55A as opposed to 55-1 and 55-2?
But we did do one that recently that was like 47A, 47B, 47C. It was already done that way.
I'm sorry, that
So-
way. Sounds good to me.
The way the email sounded, this, he thinks it should be redid because apparently when he was doing the assessing, finding property was difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just can't imagine redoing it, the confusion that would create in looking at any old maps or plans. It just, then you'd have to translate you know, any previous document to the new system, which would be
But that would go all the way to Ossipee, wouldn't it? We'd have to,
Yes, it would, probably. My feeling is that if every lot has a unique number, we're good. The problem would come if you have two lots with the same number. Exact
This
same
was the
number.
example you had told her to print out. This was the example that you had printed out on the board
Uh-huh.
of the example that he gave us of our lot numbering system.
Mm. The answer is we'll do our best as we go forward.
well, I would think that you could clean up an area. If there's an area that's really a problem,
Yeah.
we'll maybe concentrate on that and clean up that area. I can't see doing a ton. I mean, I just think that would be, well, costly for one thing.
Yes.
Well, if the assessor has a problem with particular areas, if he feels the need to change
Yeah.
those areas, identify them and bring them up to the selectmen and the planning board, and we'll,
Yeah, when I sent the note to David to put this on the agenda, what I indicated was that we should have a published standard of what we do. So that when there's no question.
So we're not
Oh, it
questioning.
is, and we won't have one of these conversations, and I forget what we said. I'll read the emails. I've been talking with our assessor, Jason Call, about the town's numbering system for new lots. It is becoming more and more of a mess with new lots being numbered any which way the surveyors choose to number them in terms of mapping and assessing. And making it difficult to search electronically and file in various places in town office. We've got letters, dashes, alphanumeric, and apparently in the Beal subdivision, we added periods. What they're recommending is that we would do for example, VO5-36 would be VO5-36-1, -2, so that they were all numeric as opposed to alphanumeric.
So we're just saying set a standard moving forward.
We should probably set a standard, and that's a housekeeping, I think, if you'll excuse the expression. But we should likely identify what that is. Because right now we say the location, it would be the location of all property lines, both current and proposed. Each proposed lot shall be numbered according to tax map numbering system, and we don't have an identified numbering system.
so, should we put it there in the subdivision regs then?
Yeah. I mean, we've stopped it according to a tax map numbering system, but we don't identify what it is.
So that's the place to put it.
Yep. So I guess the question is, what do we really want to do with it? The recommendation was that we would use a -1, -2.
Which would mean that this subdivision would be 55 and 55-1, or 55-1 and 55-2.
a great question. But I think it would be that the original would stay with the original lot, and then any new lot would be the -1, -2. And that's what the recommendation is suggesting.
Because that would identify the one without the extra number is the primary or the initial one, and then build.
Yeah, I mean, here, just written up, it says when subdividing, keep the parent lot and adding a numerical sub-lot number to a new lot. For example, if VO5-36 was to be subdivided, VO5-36 would remain with the house lot. Any new lots to be numbered as follows: VO5-36-1, -2, etc. And then if you are further subdividing one of these lots, typically use another dash, so that if you subdivided VO5-36-1, the number would be VO5-36-1-1. And trying to stay away from alphanumeric sublots. Apparently that's the recommendation. Because when you're doing searches, the alphanumeric creates a problem.
Could you go to, just move the whole number system, call it 551, 552, there's nothing that says the lots have to go in numerical order as such. I mean, it would almost be a code if you said 551, 551.
Mm-hmm.
That would be the old 55 lot. Now 551, a new lot 552. Would that work as far as, then we could label each lot with a number, alphabet?
Well, the way the computer goes is if you did it that way, he's talking about searching for it. The computer will put all the numbers first, but then 5 will come before 6, and 6 will come before 55. So if you'd have to have them all 3 digits, if you're going to do it that way.
Yep, because if you do 55, the system would be 55, 56, 57, 58 would all be in order.
Right.
And then you'd have 55-1, 56-1, 57-1. They would all be together, so I'm not sure why he thinks. Unless it's an application that he uses to search, allows you to do that.
Is there a reason why the -1 is better than A, B, C?
What they're saying is the alpha,
Yeah.
it screws things, it just doesn't work on a search.
Okay.
Then we-
Practically speaking, it seems to make more sense to me, but what do
You think about that's the way all of our ordinance are written. That one period, that another number, that another number.
Right,
Yeah.
and actually it goes from numeric to alphabet as you
Oh, that's
go
right.
down.
What do you think?
Doesn't matter to me. I just want to make sure that every lot has its own unique number.
Well, if we're not going to go back and change, it's really just,
Going forward, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we already have alpha, and now we'll have 3.
Well, we already have 4 different forms now, so this would add the 5th one.
What are the 4 forms?
Well, we have dots, we have dots, we have alphas. What else we have?
You have dot separated rather than a dash?
We have dots, dashes, alphas.
Well, changing a dot to a dash wouldn't be that difficult. That's not renumbering something, that's just
Right.
changing a character. So we'll upgrade if that's the issue between a dot and a dash. That's not difficult to do.
have any great opinion one way or another. I think it would be useful though if we had something in writing and we set it out in the subdivision regulation so that prospectively, when we look at it, we go, yep, that's how it's supposed to be done. As opposed to it, well, like
For
this
now.
one came up, this is the one, yeah, this came up and it's like, oh, I just did what we did on last one.
Well, the assessor seems to have an opinion. We don't, but if it makes his job easier, then that, in a sense, saves us money, saves the town money, if his job is easier.
I know I'll never get that far, but numbers have a lot, you have a lot more flexibility with a number than you do an alpha. You know, 26, and then you start doing double A's, double B's, hopefully you'll never get more than 27 subdivisions on one piece of property, but
Not in foreseeable future, not here.
If we get to that in our lifetime, you call me on that?
we'll be. I'm just looking.
Yeah,
the road.
we got to,
Yeah, exactly.
beyond us.
Yes,
How about my grandson's lifetime?
that's correct, it could be. We all live on a 100-foot by 100-foot little square.
Oh.
I'm in favor of the numbers. The number guy.
Numbers? We good with numbers?
Numbers.
Dash number,
And numbers is
dash
fine, like, I
number?
don't care.
Yeah. So we'd have to let Kevin Tilton know that it's not 55A, but 55-1.
Would be 55-1. Masks are hiding my smile.
He'll be our first one.
Yeah.
All right, I guess we can let them know that.
So I'll draft some wording and then you can approve it and then we just put it.
Yes.
How about
How do we know?
we have wording and we'll do a vote on it?
Right.
Yeah, next time. That work?
Sounds good.
It'll just go in and do we have to make any like announcement? Or?
Well, no, it's a housekeeping
Okay.
thing. Scott, will you agree that's housekeeping?
Yeah, I do.
So my curiosity says, what did we do with the Beal lots? Because we did a subdivision there.
Mhm.
Well, this is after.
That's dot, then we did a
Yeah.
dot.
Yeah, I just don't remember what it was. I know we
It was
made
a
new
numeric, but it was a dot.
number. Okay, so we can change that to a dash.
Yeah, we got letters, dashes, alphanumeric, and dots, periods.
Okay.
So now we're gonna have
Numbers. Not numbers.
dashes with numbers.
Dashes with numbers.
Mhm.
And we'll have a formal vote on that for next month. For sure wording. Maybe we can run that by Jason Call, make sure we didn't create something and go, oh no, that's not what I was asking for. Oh my goodness. That's another bad system you just put in.
Okay. The fun topic. Water protection ordinance.
Okay, I'll take that.
Yeah, Sarah said she would.
I spent some time this morning and went into the chaos in my house and went through this. When we first decided that the three of us were going to work on it, I read through it, the whole thing quickly. So, yeah. Maybe this goes, maybe this, yes, maybe no. And then this morning I went through and tried to figure out what is it that they're saying. And for those of you who may have just done a quick cursory read, if at all, got in front of you, you have the authority that's okay, purpose is okay, definitions are definitions, and what you want to do is to have wherever a word that is defined, wherever that occurs in the ordinance, we put it in bold. So you
Bold or
know,
capitals, or?
I've forgotten to check on the ordinance, but anyway, it's,
Okay, on definitions,
yeah,
can I go back to that, or do you
Sure.
want to go through yours?
no, that's all right, go ahead, on definitions.
Okay, the gasoline stations, I think the end of it, for the purpose of retail sale of gasoline, should be petroleum products.
Okay,
There's a loophole that some smarty will jump on and sell kerosene and diesel. And,
Or diesel, yeah.
yeah. So
Jet
just
fuel.
petroleum products is all
that's all
encompassing.
inclusive, okay. Sounds good. Then, the one area which we're gonna have to discuss is the groundwater protection district. And the way what was the group that was the was it Upper Saco Valley?
Yeah, that's, actually Dick brought it.
Yeah, Upper Valley, Aqua Filter.
Well, there was a group that was studying it.
Yeah, I brought those in tonight.
Yeah,
I
good.
thought it would be interesting.
All I'm saying is that they suggested to have it, the wellhead protection areas, which is defined as the surface and subsurface areas surrounding a water well or a well field supplying a community public water system through which contaminants are reasonably likely to move toward and reach such water well or well field. In other words, the area that you don't want to have any pollutants. To include that in your protection district. And also, there's stratified drift aquifers, and of which we have a couple of little pieces, one along Ellis, and then another one on the east branch of the, I think it's over East Branch of the South Branch. Anyway, so it's not, there's not much area that is identified as a stratified drift aquifer, but that's what it's suggested. And what we would need to do is decide exactly which areas would be included in this district. In other words, the places in town where this section of the ordinance would apply. And have a map of it so people can refer to that to see if they are within that district or not. So that is a decision we would have to make. And then the sections here on performance standards is where you have my permission to get completely confused, because they talk about performance standards applying to all uses in this district, unless it's exempt under Article 12, which further back. And then as you go through it, it says, like for B, for the conditional uses, and there's various performance standards to go for the conditional uses, and then it has several others going all the way through letter K. And then later on, when they're talking about conditional uses, they say, yes, but this particular one is exempt from performance standards E, and this other one is exempt from performance standards E through H. And why do we have it in all different sections? It does not seem logical to me. Anyway, and then the spill prevention, control, and countermeasure plan, and that's very clear as to what the plan is, and that would be for using regulated substances. It would be for a business or organization that has a large amount of a regulated substance. And the regulated substance there's a whole list of them, and it's in a, regulated substances are in RSA 485-C:6, and they're listed under 40 CFR 302-7-1-05 edition. So they are clearly identified as to what those regulated substances are, which you have to be careful about. And then the next section is permitted uses, which is all the uses that are allowed, except for those which are prohibited. So they haven't listed all. With our ordinance, I think we're all familiar with the fact that you can have it permissive or prohibitive. In other words, you have to either list all the uses that are permitted and then everything else is prohibited, or you list everything that's prohibited and then everything else is permitted. So what they've done here is given you the prohibited uses, which is quite clear, and they all make sense as far as trying to keep pollutants out of the groundwater. And then they have a section of conditional uses. And these are uses, and I'm a little confused as to how the conditional uses fit in with the performance standards listed before. There seems to be some redundancy in the wording. Then the next section is existing non-conforming uses, which is added the same way as how we deal with other non-conforming uses and structures. Get that fly.
I know it's just flying around there.
Anyway, sorry. And then there's exemptions as to what is exempted and which performance standards are to be used for various instances. And then the rest of it is maintenance inspection, is saving clause and kind of boilerplate stuff. So what I started to do this morning, and because I did not have access to my computer, I started doing this on paper and I got terribly confused. And what I propose doing is taking the sections of the performance standards, the conditional uses, and the exemptions, and try to put them together into one or two sections in a logical order, so that if you go to conditional uses, all of the aspects that are pertaining to them as to whether something is exempt from this or whether they have to follow by it. So it's all in one place as opposed to referencing one, going back and forth the way this is written now. And then I can bring it to the board and we can discuss that and decide what sections, if there are any sections that we feel aren't stringent enough, or sections that we feel don't apply, or, you know.
Okay, Sarah, then do you want to do that between now and our next meeting then?
Might as well.
And maybe get a draft out, say in a couple of weeks, so that we
Yeah.
can all look at it prior to the meeting and come prepared to discuss. And maybe at that point in time, work towards determining whether or not we are good with proposing this for the annual meeting, getting public hearings scheduled.
Mhm. But we do need to decide on what the district would be. It's an overlay district like we have, like our river conservation district is an overlay district. So this would just be another overlay district, but it would be a restricted, very much a restricted area. And so we'd have to include the wellhead protection area for the water precinct. Any other, and they talked about community public water systems.
And this is
I know.
part of the discussion we had when we were on subgroup that talked is, for example, in your complex, you have
Yeah, Eagle Brook has its community water system.
so
And I don't know any other places.
I'm not familiar with other places. I imagine there are condominium complexes that also use a common well for their
Mhm.
multiple units. I'm not sure what other things are out there. But that would be one that would certainly be a possibility. Because we're saying it's not for, the way this is currently written, it says residential properties are not included. And so then you get into what's a residential property.
My feeling is that the way they talk about it is the amount of substance of regulated substances, and that if you have it in a container less than 5 gallons or less than 55, make a distinction there that the extra regulations as to how you have to keep it on an impervious surface and have a spill prevention plan, etc. But that all of these regulations seem to be directed at large anybody having a large amount of a particular regulated substance. And my feeling is that why do we say that any residential area use is exempted? I mean, whether it's a business or a person who has a large amount of some regulated, I mean, it's going to pollute if it's not handled correctly, as a potential of polluting the groundwater, drinking water source, etc. So I will try to pull this all together as to what, not saying just residential, but have it as to the amount, that if you have something in a 5-gallon or less container, then you don't have to have all of these extra regulations affected.
Yeah, I guess I'm thinking about folks who are in the construction trade who may use, they may have a diesel tank in the back of their pickup that they may drive back in and out of their home. That's not common, but it's possible, right there.
Well, a farmer would have a bulk tank for diesel for his tractors,
You know,
which, I don't know, could be non-conforming, but it's certainly part of his business.
yeah. Those would certainly not be in the protected, the districts. I mean, if we're looking at an overlay district here, farm map somewhere is not gonna get covered. And yet you'd still want the same kind of proper handling of fuels.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you have to decide, I mean, the biggest question would be the water precinct, and that they take water from the Ellis or from underneath the Ellis, or from the groundwater that feeds
Right.
the Ellis. And then, does that mean the whole watershed is part of the wellhead production area? And in that case, you do have residents along Route 16. You have salt in the winter on Route 16. So how do you handle that? It's a non-point source.
Well, we've always had that problem going up Route 16 with all the fuel trucks going north. You know, everything comes from Portland and goes right up, you know, to Gorham, Berlin, Errol. Anytime there's an accident along there, the town's water supply is going to be impacted.
Potentially.
I don't have an answer, I just,
Yeah,
I see the problem.
Yeah, and the whole idea of this is to try to forestall any things that we can at least control. And obviously, if some things you can't control, try not
So
to.
what you have in that, you have a plan, emergency,
Like cleanup.
a cleanup,
We'll have something in place now
knowing what trucks go up there. as
to
what
deal
they're
with
carrying.
a problem that may come up.
And I'm sure there's plenty that's been written on what to do if you have an oil truck tip over and spill its contents. And how to clean up the mess and keep it out of the water.
Because it also outline who is responsible for doing that financially also.
Right. Is it the town? Is it,
The truck, the company.
right. But the town should have a plan in place so that
Right.
it can be initiated
Right.
immediately to keep the, minimize the damage.
All right,
Okay,
so,
work in progress.
work in progress. Sounds like, Sarah, you're gonna do a deep dive on this
Mm-hmm,
and for us.
yes.
Thank you, Sarah.
Well, thank you for that. And you're probably the right person to do that because I'm starting to trip over my tongue reading this stuff.
Well, that was me this morning. I was getting very frustrated. So what they're talking, what applies where? I'm trying to outline it and then realize what I have to do is to get it all in a Word document and move pieces around.
You summarized it pretty well, though.
Thank you.
And this format, just to, this format is pulled out of their guidelines of developing one. House location literally took it word for word.
Yeah, they
Yes,
just,
this is the model. And
This is the
actually,
model.
in the document that this model comes from,
Mhm.
it has the language on one side, and then it has the explanation on the other as to why all of these pieces are in there. And for instance, there is a section where it says, exemption, sale, transportation, and use of pesticides, as defined in RSA, blah, 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 is exempt from all provisions of this ordinance. I said, what? Pesticides? And the side note says that this RSA says that it can't be controlled at the local level, that the control of pesticides has to be at the state or federal level. So I think what it needs to say is to find out what controls the use of pesticides and say it is, that it to name that as opposed to saying that it's exempt from everything,
Right,
so.
yeah, no, to state the more positive as opposed to
Right.
the
Pesticides are-
anti-negative.
Pesticides are controlled by RSAX, whatever.
That raises my question regarding your point, with 16 being a state road, would that be a state rule as far as cleanup of hazard material? I mean, they may have a process in place already, because it's a state road.
I guess we'd have to work with the state, I don't know.
It's likely that what you're saying is that they will control, but again, if you have a local ordinance that has specifications that emulate the state requirement, then it brings it down to the town level, as long as it's not in conflict with the state regulation, it's usually okay. They prohibit us from doing anything that they control the rule, that we say something different that's going to affect the result.
And a lot of it will come down to how the enforcement is put in place, because the state has a bunch of regulations, but there's some they're not enforcing. I mean, they don't have the manpower.
Right.
So we can help them out or actually find out where we can help
Yeah, help drive it.
and do it locally.
Although I do recommend this reading if you're having trouble sleeping.
One other question that came up.
I'm falling asleep now, and you want me to keep reading this?
Another question that came up in our discussion, and maybe we can talk about here real quick, is that, do we include this in our current zoning ordinance as just another one, or do we make this a standalone?
I'd almost say this stands alone. I know that's just a feeling, but it's kind of large and,
If it's an overlay district though, it should be in the zoning ordinance.
Here.
That's my opinion.
Okay.
Because you have all your different
Yeah,
districts.
just taking a look at the way that's set in the regs, or how other towns have adopted, most of the towns have placed it in to their zoning ordinance, and it has greater access and visibility. And that would be the difference, certainly.
And there are,
I agree with you, but
it's at least half the towns in the state have some sort of groundwater protection ordinance.
Okay.
And they have it in different places. Site plan review, for a lot of them that have site plan review, or zoning ordinance, or, so that's all.
Okay. Those are some of the questions that you wanted to throw out to
yeah.
the group.
Yeah.
We'll proceed on that.
All right.
The next was that discussion that Pete Malliard and that Scott regarding is the short-term rental conditional use permit. Does it go with the property? If the property owner changes, does it have to be renewed under the new property? And basically, it says it does run with the property, a conditional use permit does, but he says although a conditional use permit runs with the land, if the property transfers ownerships within 60 days of closing, the new owner would be required to provide the town with their own contact information and a new affidavit agreeing to all the conditions of the permit. So it sounds like they would have to do more than just put in a new application versus us approving the conditional use permit, is the way I read that. Am I correct?
This all came up as a result of some of the activity that's going on in other towns, and noise that town employees here are also just saying, well, we should do this or we should do that. And and going through some of the same gymnastics that Scott and I went through when we were talking to Peter Malliot when we put together our own process. And that is, for example, the ability for us to do inspections.
Right.
And we determined at that time, and we again received additional guidance again from Attorney Malliot that no, you can't do them.
Although Bill, mostly he just gave our guidance back to us at first, I thought.
Well, yeah, but we did such a good job, Scott, you know?
He just quoted us.
You did it so well, why not just quote you? But that's what he did. He basically said what we have is probably the gold standard for how you should approach it, and that a lot of the noise that you're hearing are other folks going through the same growing pains of working through the short-term rental activity. But the key piece that we saw as a potential issue, and it is something that I think is necessary. How we do it, I'm not sure. But if the conditional use permit flows of the property, we still need to have new information if the property transfers.
Mhm.
We have to have the new short-term rental provider say that they're going to agree
Have a fire extinguisher.
to do all the things,
egress
because they
windows,
didn't sign that original affidavit.
Right.
So they need to do that. They need to tell us who their legal contact is. So we need some basic data to continue to ensure that the conditional use permit is effectively being managed by the new property owner. And so we don't have anything in the zoning ordinance that says that that needs to happen. And I guess Peter advised us that we should include that in the zoning ordinance. And then the question was, how does that get affected? And how does the Board of Selectmen ensure that that's going to happen? And then the question is whether or not that's a licensing process or whether or not it can be done administratively. And I don't know the answer to that. It would seem to me that that the process would be such that you'd simply say, whomever the new owner is simply has to apply
Just to update his,
with updated data.
information, yeah.
Right, but I think that what's probably important is that we use language like update, the information, because it's not really a renewal or a reapplication.
Right.
It's really just updating the information in the state permit.
Yeah, and it also seems reasonable. I mean, it's.
Oh, because there wouldn't be a fee for the upgrade. You've already paid the fee to get the permit.
Right. Unless the select board imposed that as part of, say, you're going to redo this, it's going to cost us $50 to process
Right,
this.
reduced rate for upgrade or something.
Yeah, I would expect something of that nature, it's not a conditional use permit application fee. It would simply be a processing fee
Right.
of some kind.
$50.
So again, I think we likely need to, while we're having all these public hearings, we might as well do a couple of things at once and get a couple of these additions proposed and voted on.
Yeah, he said so. He said that.
He sent a draft of what language could possibly be used, and it seemed reasonable. Um, And I guess we can toss that out for next time, same as your piece, and say, here it is, and, you know, do we agree to it or not agree to it, or make changes to it, and get the ball rolling.
Again, for a newbie here, so a public hearing, you can have more than one topic.
I believe so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you just have to describe what you're gonna talk about.
Oh, okay. And
And
you have separate ones for
And when
each
you
one.
advertise it,
Right.
publicize it, it's a hearing on X, Y, and Z.
Got it, okay.
Just advertise properly.
So then.
Or it could be, you know, one public hearing after another.
Okay. Would the ordinance be, would that thing be a warrant article?
It would be amendment to the zoning.
The short-term rental would be, but the water.
The water, if you're gonna put it in the zoning ordinance, yes.
Everything has to go through.
Okay.
So that would.
I'm just thinking of the time frame. Is that,
Yeah.
that's Julie?
Well, any change we make to that document needs to be, unless it's an and or a the or him or her, or,
No, I mean, I'm talking this new thing we're putting together.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's new.
Groundwater.
Okay.
That's really new.
Okay.
We can get away with, like a numbering system saying it should be A, B, or that, because that's not really changing what we do or how
I think
how
the
we do
word
it.
is
Just
substantive changes.
Okay. No, just talk with Julie to get the time, dates that we have to get everything by.
Right?
yeah, we have that, I think, already.
Yeah,
We'll just
You
have
get
to
a
rinse it through.
schedule. We get the
Yeah,
schedule.
we got the schedule like in August
Yeah.
or July even.
Okay. That was,
That was good.
okay. Okay. Do we still have guests here? Or do we still have this guy? I don't know who we have here. We have two applications. The next thing on the agenda is the applications for short-term applications. We have two of them. First one, which one is on the list here? Oh, Brian. Okay. Is Stephen Markowitz and Matthew O'Brien. Location is 7D Hurlin Lane, Lot 2, V2, Lot 10-D, 5D. I'm not kidding you, that's exactly what it says. It's a 3-bedroom approved condo with septic, 3-bedroom tax card, advertising 3 bedrooms, sleeps 8, which is within our 2.
Any discussion?
Seems like it meets,
Do I hear a motion
Which,
to accept this application? I have a motion to accept the
I
app.
move to accept.
I have a second from Scott. Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Hearing none, motion carries.
okay, the next one, this is similar, this is that same organization, Vascara, whatever,
The Picasa.
Picasa, which they won't print an advertisement until the application is accepted in there, so there's no advertisement there. And John, I think you guys did this last time, where you had them send you the application, or once you got approved, right?
Hello?
John Allen? Hello? John, we can't hear you. You may be on mute.
some phone.
I don't think he's showing up there at all.
Well, there's the phone, so it's.
There's a phone, that's him.
Ah,
John is reading the water, and I think he fell asleep.
Well, could be, could be. I wouldn't blame it.
Anyway, we had a couple of these last month, and we accepted them, and then they made some conditions at the select.
With the comment that the recommendation that the select board
And
obtain.
just watch for the ad, and if it's not appropriate, send them the violation letter.
Yeah,
That's what they said at the select.
what the select board did with it, the last one is that they approved, with the ad to be submitted following within 30 days.
Is anything the same?
We'll put the paperwork for that.
Was the other one also a new,
Yes,
and so that may be, what happens with the new ones, and that they aren't advertising it until they get the permit.
Yeah.
And so you'd see a draft of the ad or something, or, well, I guess what they did, get a copy within 30 days and
Yeah,
check it out.
so again, our requirement is to accept the application, and we can accept the application with comment, and I believe the comment ought to, again, as we did last time, recommend that the select board obtain a copy of the ad following approval.
Yep.
Make that a condition of approval.
and this one also is a three-bedroom septic, and they will suggest that they require that the ad sits no more than 8. So that's the
Motion to accept with comment. I have a motion to accept with comment from Scott, second.
Second.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries.
And I don't know how we did this, but it is 8:33.
Adjournment.
Dick has the paddle already, so let's go.
Okay. 6-minute
I
motion.
think, yeah, I think that's pretty good, guys. Excellent,
Way to go.
excellent. I have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, there we go. A hearty aye. Aye, aye.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you much, guys. Good discussion.